Author opinion of Denis Keen at the history, geography and architecture, culture and life manners of Kazakhs in the program Discovering Kazakhstan.
In today's program, amazing nature of East Kazakhstan, mysterious legend of the Rachmanov's Lake, health-giving mineral baths.
Salam, привет, and hello. I'm Denis Keen, and today on Discovering Kazakhstan, we will be discovering the legendary lake resort in the Altai Mountains, Rachmanov Springs. This mountain lake and health resort are located in a remote part of eastern Kazakhstan at the foot of a sacred mountain called Mount Beluga. Pilgrims have been coming here for hundreds of years in search of the legendary place Shambhala. Come along as we see if we can tap into this place's special energy. This place's history starts as a sanatorium in the Soviet period. A sanatorium was a kind of Soviet-style health resort where people would come for a week to kind of restore their energy before they went back to work. And there's a very strict schedule at these kind of places. Here, for example, we have woken up at 7 in the morning to come out to this beautiful pier to do some morning calisthenics. After our morning aerobics, I have found a minute to get my heart rate down a little bit by visiting a famously tranquil place here at the resort called the Old Bridge. This is a construction that dates back to the 1960s when this Soviet sanatorium first opened here, and it crosses this little river called the Arasanka that flows out of the lake. It's a perfect place to come and just sit, be with your thoughts, and watch the water flow below your feet. The resort is located inside of a national park, so fishing is restricted. That means that the lake is full of fat, happy fish, and I can see them swimming here below my very feet. And though perhaps it takes away from the solitude of me being here on this bridge all alone, it's kind of nice to have some friends down there and to know that these forests are full of wildlife, that this is a kind of natural place that still has gone untouched. A classic part of any Soviet sanatoria or health resort experience is the communal breakfast. Just as we had to show up at the pier at 7 o'clock flat for our calisthenics, here we are at 8 o'clock, and right on the button we have a healthy breakfast for us. It's a kind of mix of European and Russian style. So for example, we have this kind of porridge called kasha. We have some Russian cheese called tvorog with some sour cream called smetana there on top. And then just some simple sausage and bread. With this, I think we'll have some tea and get some nice food and drink in us before we go out for a morning hike. Now that everybody has been well fed with a hearty Russian breakfast, we are ready for an adventure. We are suiting up in our life jackets to get out on a boat and experience Rachmanov Lake itself. There's no better way, of course, to see the nature here than to be out on the water, to feel the breeze. So off we go. Здравствуйте всем! When I've been out on mountain lakes in Kazakhstan before, the water has this kind of characteristic turquoise color. But here what I notice, it has this kind of spooky, dark, black shade to it. And it lends this kind of unusual spirit to the environs here. And all around we're surrounded by these beautiful forests. Apparently we're going over to the other side of the lake where more adventure awaits. We are in Central Asia, and the majority of people in Kazakhstan identify as Muslims. Yet somehow it's still a surprise to find such a beautiful mosque on the grounds of this resort. This is a very interesting mosque, in fact, because it is the farthest east mosque in the entire country. That means when they make the call to prayer in the morning, it is the very first mosque in all of Kazakhstan to sound out. Because we're high up here, more than 1,700 meters above sea level, it's also the highest mosque in the entire country, which makes it quite special indeed. The name of the mosque is Al-Qudus. This name is one of the 99 names of Allah. And it really is quite a beautiful structure, architecturally speaking. They built it using these bricks that were brought from Khwarezm. You can see how they were cut here. So these were brought from this historic region of Uzbekistan where this craft still survives. And it gives it this kind of ancient feel that connects it to its Central Asian roots. So why don't we go have a look around the building and see what we can find. One thing that immediately signifies this building as Islamic architecture are these towers that you can find on the corners called minarets. These minarets would traditionally be used by somebody called the muezzin. He would come to make the call to prayer at various times during the day, coming up a staircase at the top of the tower, and from these heights he could call out through the settlement. In a modern mosque, there is likely not a staircase inside of here, and they probably will use loudspeakers to broadcast over the camp. Something that's unusual about this building that I haven't seen in a lot of mosques before is just the shape. Normally a mosque will be rectangular or square of some sort, but this one has a star shape. It has shaped like an 8-pointed star. This is a kind of ornament that you see throughout the Islamic world, but it's especially concentrated in Central Asia. It's been used here since the 9th century. And so they gave this mosque a certain form to give it this special Central Asian flavor. And it definitely feels like it couldn't be anywhere else in the world. The space inside the mosque is just impressive. They have these massively high ceilings, and up there, this beautiful chandelier. And from here, we can really feel the shape of that 8-pointed star that is, again here, painted along the ceiling. Here around the walls, you can see these different plaques. Every plaque is one of these 99 names of Allah. So they have it written here in Cyrillic, but this is an Arabic word. For example, here, Al-Jalilu. Then you have it written in the Arabic script. And here, a kind of Kazakh translation. A lot of Kazakhs in Kazakhstan may not be fluent in Arabic, so they'll use Kazakh to kind of facilitate their learning of the religion. Here in the corner, it's interesting, they have a little mosque. This is the model of the mosque that we're standing in right now. You can see that same kind of 8-pointed shape and those big windows that are letting in all of this beautiful light. At one side of the mosque is always this kind of niche. This niche is pointed in the direction of Mecca. So every mosque is always positioned the same way so that this niche is facing towards this holy place for Muslims. One last thing we see in this corner is this kind of staircase. At the top of the staircase is a platform where the imam can sit and give his sermons and preach here to the masses. On the floor, you have the prayer mats where people will come and prostrate in prayer, finding their own peace in this certainly peaceful place. One thing that I like about mosques in Kazakhstan is that they're always open for visitors. So even if you're not religious like me, you can still come and feel comfortable there just going inside and having a look. But if you don't feel quite ready going inside, out in front of it they have these little gazebos they've built out of that same gorgeous Uzbek brick. And the gazebo is a pretty unusual thing to see outside of a mosque. I associate this more with a kind of Russian tradition. But they've created this very relaxing space here. Outside of this archway here, we have the waters of this creek running by. You can hear the singing of the birds, and there are trees all around us. It turns out that when they built these gazebos and they built the mosque, they specifically planned not to tear down a single tree. So they incorporated the beauty of this landscape into the very arrangement of the mosque itself. So you can come here and listen to the silence and kind of feel that special energy, no matter what religion you're from. This place has long attracted Buddhists, Christians, Muslims, people of all faiths. What's important, I think, is just the certain kind of spirit of the place, of the mountains. And here you can certainly feel that. As great as it feels to get pampered within the bubble of an all-exclusive resort, it is worth it, I think, to build up some courage to head out into the surrounding area, because you may be surprised what you can find. We've come outside of the entrance gates here, and we stumbled across this old village. This is what is left of Radon Hot Springs, the town. And these homes, we don't know how old they are, but they have such a quaint, rustic atmosphere to them, made in all wood as the local style usually involves. Yet as popular as this wooden architecture is in Kazakhstan, this is even different than buildings that I've seen throughout the rest of the country, and even throughout the rest of the Altai, where we have explored so far. For example, if you look on the corners here, you see how those logs are coming together at this specific kind of joint? Well, normally in Kazakhstan, they kind of poke out a little bit, and then they'll even plaster over the wood so you don't even see that it's a wood building. Here, this wood is out here for all us to see, kind of wearing its pride on its sleeves. Another thing, kind of cute little detail that you can notice is that if you look at the windows, they're double paned. So there's some air there in between, and this helps insulate these buildings during freezing winters up here in the mountains. Yet they always have one little pane that has a hinge on it that will open up, called a furtочка. That way you can get some fresh air into the building when it gets too stuffy there in those cold months of the year. A common feature of most Soviet-style resorts is this kind of place. It's called a Terran Corps. It's a special kind of walking course for therapeutic strolls for patients here. So a doctor could actually subscribe, you should walk 1 or 2 kilometers every evening, and people come out here and stroll. And by using the terrain, that's the terren in Terran Corps, you can use this elevation to raise your heartbeat and thus slowly build up your fitness. Even if you're not out here for medicinal reasons, even if you feel like you don't have anything to cure, it's still a very romantic place just to walk around. On either sides of us here, we have these beautiful conifers. The path that we're walking itself is made out of wood. They call it an eco trail because it's considered to be eco-friendly, and it's also warm and not too slippery in the winter. All along the side of the path, you can see these trees. These are not local, these are invasive, you could say. It's a kind of Christmas light system here. So every single one of these little flowers has a little light inside, and at night it lights up the trail. Keeps this kind of green theme for the entire resort, making you feel like you're deep within a forest. One thing I like about these kind of Altai resorts is that they really try to keep nature in its place, exactly as it originally was. They don't try to move things around. They don't try to deconstruct anything. They try to just let you appreciate what's originally here. And a case in point is this kind of boulder field here. What I suspect is moraine. So that is, these are boulders that would have been pushed all the way here by an ancient glacier. What's really cool about these rocks is that they have this lichen growing on them, this kind of moss-like substance in psychedelic colors of lime green and black. They give them a really neat kind of appearance. And so to avoid doing anything with these rocks, all along here, they built these bridges here so you can walk and enjoy these cool boulder fields. If guests feel at all restricted by the dietary requirements of the cafeteria food at the sanatoriums here, you can come here and use this beautiful outdoor kitchen. The architecture here is interesting. They're using the same kind of bricks as we saw at the mosque. This was specially shipped here from Khwarezm in Uzbekistan. And indeed, this kitchen would be the dream of an Uzbek or a Kazakh or any Central Asian, because here you can cook a variety of classic Central Asian dishes. On the left, we have the classic Central Asian barbecue called a mangal. This is where you can make the kind of shish kebab called shashlik. So you take your skewers, put a bunch of meat on there. Usually it's going to be mutton or lamb, and you put it there on top. Some charcoal or some wood will be there at the bottom to heat up the meat and make a tasty, succulent shish kebab. Here, we have a giant cast iron wok, as you would call it in East Asia, but here it's called a kazan. And this is used to cook the dish called plov. Plov is related to pilaf. It's a kind of rice stew where you have boiled carrots and meat in there. All of it cooks for hours inside this big container. When it's done, it's oily, heavy, and absolutely scrumptious. One last thing we have over on here to complete our Central Asian kitchen is the tandoor. Now, if you've ever had Indian food and heard of a tandoor, it's basically the same thing. It's a kind of brick oven, and it's heated inside of there, and you will slap bread or some kind of bread products on the inner wall. So you have to be brave to reach your hand in there and use this tandoor oven. Then you will take a pole or your hands to scrape off the result, and it comes out hot. You use this to make what's called naan, which is a kind of local bread, or to make these meat-filled pastries called samsa. So if you want to entertain your guests, you have an entire kitchen here to produce everything from samsa to plov to shashlik and have an amazing Central Asian feast. Ever since the years of the Soviet Union, when lots of grand masters in chess came out of the USSR, chess has been a real phenomenon in the former Soviet countries, and Kazakhstan is no exception. I've met a lot of young kids like these guys who are really brilliant at this game. Growing up, I never really learned how to play, so they're going to show me the ropes a little bit. What's been interesting to see is that even at such a young age, they really know how to move every piece. They've learned a little bit of strategy. And we've been comparing notes on the names of the different pieces. So the one that he just moved, for example, this big guy here, I don't even know what you call it in English, but in Russian they call it slon, which means an elephant. I'm not sure I really see it, but it is a playful kind of name. But everything else seems to be the same. This is Korol, или Королева. Korol. This is the king, and this is the queen. Это значит, это ты, да? Korol. Means he's the king, she's got the queen over there. These two siblings are facing off to see who can be the chess master of Rachmanov Springs. I've noticed recently that bicycles have become more and more popular in Kazakhstan. In big cities like Almaty and Astana, there are now bike paths, and mountain biking is the recent biggest craze. And I've also seen that it's become more popular with tourists. We've met crazy adventurers who have ridden their bikes all around the world, and if you're going across Eurasia, you come all the way through Kazakhstan. So as long as they've come this far, they can ride all the way up to Radon Hot Springs and go for a cruise around the lake. Tell me, what would be your perfect day in Radon Hot Springs? What kind of medical treatments can you receive here?
Mainly, I think that's Radon Hot Springs, who is kind of
The springs themselves?
springs themselves. Yeah, you're just taking baths and some massage and got some drinks, energy drinks. I don't know.
Okay. I think it's hard to feel bad here, actually.
Exactly. In general, I think that the atmosphere here is, in general, kind of heals you. You know.
Yeah.
So you can be here, don't take any medical treatment, you still feel good because it's a fresh air, it's a very nice weather. I mean, even though sometimes it's rain, no problem. I mean, I feel very comfortable.
So what else is special about this place? I mean, there's lots of places in the Altai. The whole region is quite nice. You know, how did you settle on Radon Hot Springs?
For me personally, I would be honest to you, I was born in this region, so I spent most of the summers of my childhood up until, let's say, 10 years old, I spent in Katonkargai, which is 100 kilometers away from here.
Right.
So, but I never been here. So, and I said, friends of mine came from Almaty and they said, we want to go to Radon Hot Springs. I said, I'm going to join you because I felt that I must go here. So, and I believe that this place is just special in this area. Some of the people visiting this place every year. I mean, that as far as I understood, that once you came here, it's going to become a habit. You know, you're doing this every single year. So I believe that we're going to do the same.
I mean, I can definitely feel that too because there is a kind of special energy here. Some people say it's connected to the mountains, to Mount Berlucha, just to the air, to the ecology. It is something special. So
I generally love to travel, so I believe that this is not the only place in this region to visit. So I would recommend many places here, but this is the special one. So this is a must, you know, to visit for everyone. So I would recommend to a friend of mine.
So come on out, and we're going to be traveling along to other places in the Altai. So come along on an adventure with us. Okay, thanks, Arvin.
Thanks.
Yeah. I've noticed that in former Soviet countries like Kazakhstan, mineral water continues to be a very popular form of treatment for various ailments. They call it hydrotherapy. And places like Radon Hot Springs attract pilgrims who come here specifically to try this water. It's not just any water. These springs are called radon springs, and so they have special chemicals in them. And whenever you find this kind of gazebo here with this water, you will see a kind of list of ingredients in this water, what makes this water special. So it'll say how much calcium it has, how much sulfates, so that a person who is prescribed this kind of mineral water knows exactly which kind to drink. Now, if we try it, first off, it's warm. And it doesn't have a very strong flavor, this stuff. I've had some mineral waters in other resorts in Kazakhstan that have this kind of stinky egg, sulfury essence to it. But this is really quite clean. And so imagine, it's coming right out of the earth, but it's as good as medicine.
Здравствуйте.
People come to this part of the Altai from all around Kazakhstan, and indeed from all around the world, to experience the Radon Hot Springs. So a trip would not be complete without a dip, so we are off to the spa to try it out and see what other kind of treatments they may have in store for us. This is the coolest hot spring I've ever seen. Look at this. So this is actually the original hot spring that was up here in the mountains, and they've built this whole facility around it. They haven't touched a thing. So when we look down into here and we see this sand and these rocks and these boulders, these were originally here up in the Altai, and they've built this whole experience around it. This water here is Radon Hot Springs, and they say that the special composition of this water can heal certain illnesses and ailments. It's especially good for your nervous system, for your joints, for certain skin diseases. So you're advised to come into here and to lay down or to sit on one of these benches here and soak it all in. They have these cool little clocks here that we can turn over for 15 minutes and go have a dip. The Altai is a stony place. Its mountain faces are covered in scree. Its rivers are full of boulders. Thus, it's somehow not surprising to me that at the spa here, you can receive rock massage therapy. What this guy is doing here is he's taking these rocks that have been heated up in a small little pool of hot water, and he's rubbing them over my skin. And it's said to warm up my muscles and to stimulate my nervous system. All along my body there are certain kind of meridians, as they call them, and he said to use these hot stones to tap into this life energy. Let's see how transformative these stones can be. As he runs the stones along my skin, they're so smooth. The feeling is really delightful, and it really doesn't feel that hot. But then once he stops and he takes the stones and he puts them in one place along one of those so-called meridians, you can really feel the heat, and it can be a little bit painful. But I guess sometimes a little bit of pain is good for you. One last treatment that I'm really looking forward to, they call it the Pearl Bath. So here we have this beautiful jacuzzi tub that's full of water. They're gonna pump some radon in there. But the special ingredient is the mountain herbs that they actually collect from the Altai. So this means that this is something that only here we can get. It is a potent mix that they put in there. So our assistant here is going to pour it into the bath. Now these bubbles are coming up, it's gonna mix all those chemicals and those grasses around, and it's gonna have this aroma therapeutic effect. Let's see how it goes. When I first heard the name Rachmanov, I went to a map and I was surprised. It's in such an obscure part of the country, far from a big city, served by few roads, close to the remote borders with Russia, China, and Mongolia. But this sense of adventure in me said there must be something neat there. And we came here, and what discoveries we've made. From a mosque to a waterfall, from hot springs to an old Russian village. It seems that this is a place that continues to yield discoveries the more you explore. It's been a thrill for us to show this beautiful part of a beautiful country to you. Until next time, Saobao, Baka, and goodbye.